According to the D&D 5e Player's Handbook, a Session 0 doesn't exist. Dungeon Master's Guide? Not in here either. And without a formal definition for a Session 0, we're left with a ton of opinions and even more questions. So as someone who loves starting new campaigns, I've compiled all of the answers for you and distilled them into the ultimate Session 0 checklist to share in this video. Let's do this. Hi, Bob here, and welcome to Bob World Builder, where we learn how to have more fun playing D&D together. So hit that subscribe button for weekly guides, tips, news, and reviews. Now before we dive into this Session 0 checklist, let's take a moment to talk about what this session is actually for. The goal of a Session 0 is to get your group on the same page. Whether or not they've played D&D before, each player has their own preconceived notions of what this new campaign will be like. I'm so excited to have a deep role-playing experience with my friends. Man, I can't wait to explore this new campaign setting. Heck yeah, man, this character build is going to be able to wrestle a dragon by level 4. So this session gives you a chance to align everyone's expectation for the campaign and player behavior. And the beauty of it is you can have a Session 0 check-in at any point in your campaign. By the end, you'll have plans for your gaming schedule, a framework of rules for your table, and a foundation for the adventure itself. I say plans, framework, and foundation because once you start playing, things are going to change. Every DM and player knows that plans rarely work out, but having this solid baseline makes it way easier to deal with changes as they come along. And this actual checklist is totally free to download on my Patreon through the link in the description. So while you're over there, consider joining the amazing supporters in the Bob World Builder Patreon community. All patrons get a new monthly podcast, a shout out in my next video, thank you to Ben and RJ for joining this week, and an adventure supplement with printable NPC and item cards, chosen by you every month. I'm really proud of this month's Urban Encounters supplement that just went up today. And thank you to all my patrons for making all of this possible. Now, the ultimate Session 0 checklist starts off by saying you should watch this video. Look at you, you're already crushing it. Then review each section before you discuss it with your group, and later revisit the list to make adjustments as your campaign evolves. So this doc should be included in whatever you use to keep session notes. You do take session notes, right? Because based on your notes and regular feedback from your players, you should be updating this list over time. Then, the first real section is team building. And I promise it's not a goofy icebreaker that will make everyone uncomfortable, except that one friend of yours who loves icebreakers for some reason. It's 3 simple questions to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves if necessary, and to get excited about the game. 1. What's one thing you love about RPGs? This could be a favorite moment from a previous campaign. It could be why they're excited to play, strategy, story, social interaction, or anything else. 2. Are you most excited about combat, exploration and puzzles, or roleplay? And 3. As a player, what's one strength you bring to the group? If someone can't think of their own strengths, let others share a strength that they see in that player. This last one really gets everyone thinking like a team, and you should seriously take notes about their responses here, so there's a space on the checklist for you to do so. Then the next section is where you tackle scheduling. People are busy, so it's great to figure out the logistics right off the bat. How long can the group reasonably commit to playing this campaign? Sure, you may want it to last for years, but start small. 2 to 4 months is a good goal that won't scare away your new players who actually have social lives and do stuff besides think about D&D. Like this video if you know what I mean. How often can everyone meet? Weekly is great, but twice a month is the reality for most groups of 4 or more players. How long should a session last? About 3 hours is normal, but if you only meet once a month, maybe go for those 6+ hour marathons. Where will you meet? Or what virtual tabletop will you use? What's the preferred day of the week and session start time? And how long will you wait for that last person to show up? This might seem like overkill, but it keeps your players accountable, and not having a regularly scheduled game is the #1 killer of D&D groups. Finally, under what conditions will you cancel your game? And what do you do with that character of an absent player? I included a few suggestions for how to handle these points because different groups have different methods, and this idea leads right into the most important section, table expectations. Some of these points are simple, some are serious, but they are all critical for maintaining a fun game. If a player's expectations aren't being met, they won't be focused during the game, or worse, they'll start making excuses and stop showing up. Of course, you can't please all the people, but if you're their host, you should try. So, is food welcome at the table? Alcohol? Smartphones? Sure, these can be distracting, but they're great tools for looking stuff up. On that note, how much time, if any, will be spent to check a ruling, and how much player knowledge overlaps with character knowledge? Metagaming, oh no. This has never been a problem in my experience, but a lot of people seem to think it is. Does your group want to roleplay like the gang on Stranger Things or Critical Role? Is the general tone of your game dramatic or comedic? And a reminder, all characters get their time in the spotlight if they want it. But how much narrative control do the players actually have? This could be limited to deciding the actions of their character, or extended to on-the-fly descriptions of a scene to assist the DM, which I recommend in this video about keeping your players' attention. How about when can a situation be taken back or retconned? Is player versus player action okay with your group? And what other RPG pet peeves do they have? This question could bring up some serious topics, in which case we jump right to the next point. Discuss the typical rating of your game. PG, PG-13, R, and encourage your players to privately share with you any topics they don't want to occur in the game. This whole section is about respecting people's boundaries, but these are the topics that could ruin someone's experience with D&D forever. So listen to your players. And finally, what are the consequences for a player who goes against these guidelines that your group agreed upon? For most adults and children, a simple disapproving look is enough to get them in line. But others will need to be spoken with privately, and if they repeatedly cross the line, they do not respect your group, and they're just not a good fit for this campaign. Now, this next section is bound to be even more controversial, the campaign framework. This isn't something a lot of DMs include in their session 0, because usually they've already made all of these decisions. Well, you're heckin' right, Bob. It's every DM's constitutional right to create a setting with absolutely zero input from their players and then expect them to just be completely happy with it. Because, okay, it sounds a little silly now that I'm saying it, but maybe it's just a ridiculous accent. I know. I started DMing because I made a setting and I wanted my friends to play in it. But if you want a rich D&D experience, or that multi-year campaign, it's best to create a setting together, or at least let your players help and make some decisions about the adventure. What's the accessibility of magic, the general level of technology, primary adventuring environments, the major threats, the main story themes, linear or non-linear structure, starting character level? And how will you ensure that the characters are all connected to each other and the setting? I prefer when each character has a pre-existing relationship with at least one other character in the party and at least one NPC in the world. So this section is where it should click that your players ought to know as much as possible about the setting before they build a character. Yes, as soon as you invite your friends to a session 0, they'll probably start working on ideas. And that's great, they're excited to play. But they shouldn't do it all on their own, or they'll end up with a character that doesn't fit well in the party or the setting. So encourage them to come with a few ideas and be flexible, because they haven't heard the final section yet, house rules. This part could go on forever, and I want you to leave a comment with your favorite house rule from your game. But here are some common mechanics that groups do differently. Generating character statistics, leveling up, raising their HP, alignment, race and class restrictions, because if I can't play Barty McFly, I'm out. Backgrounds, encumbrance, crits and fumbles, inspiration, initiative, starting gold, health regeneration, character death, and resurrection. Now, a lot of groups like to play at the end of a session 0, and it makes sense. You're all hyped up about this new campaign and you want to dive right in. But I say you shouldn't. Sort of. If you went into it with a group of people you already knew, and a pre-written setting and a campaign that everyone was already aware of, go for it. But if you're still getting to know everyone, or you're running homebrew, or you need to make big changes to the campaign based on your discussions, wait. Let your players hold on to that excitement and spend more time on their character backstories while you watch this video about session prep to create the ultimate session 1. So what did I forget to put in this checklist? Let me know and tell me what other topics you want to see videos about. And join Patreon like Ben and RJ did this week if you want to vote on future videos and get so much more cool stuff. Thank you for watching, and keep building.